Hello, this is Amphibian Gamer, and in today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to do slayers in Hypixel Skyblock quickly and efficiently. Let's get started. First, let's have a look at the items you're going to need. For your armor, I would recommend having a set of Wise Dragon armor, reforged to either Very Wise or, better yet, Necrotic. You're going to want to have a Frozen Scythe as your weapon, enchanted with Ultimate Wise 5, and it also really helps to have a Voodoo doll. In terms of pets, I would recommend a legendary sheep or legendary wolf. Additionally, having an aspect of the end is super helpful to teleport around, either to get away from the boss or to attack mobs. If you plan on doing spends, then you're going to want to have a set of armor such as strong or mastiff armor, and you're going to want to have a decent sword such as a Raider's Axe or an aspect of the dragons or something along those lines.
So for the Frozen Scythe, you might be asking, why not use something like a Bonzo staff? Well, you could, but there's a few advantages to the Frozen Scythe that make it better. For one, it does a little bit more damage, and another thing is that it only costs 25 mana with Ultimate Wise 5, less with Wise Armor, and less with a legendary sheep pet, bringing the total down to almost nothing, allowing you to spam infinitely, which is exactly what you want. Bonzo Staff also pushes you back when the balloons explode, which can be really annoying in a boss fight, and the balloons move slower. So, all around, it's just better to use a Frozen Scythe.
Before we start the rest of the tutorial, I would like to ask you to take just a second to subscribe to my channel. It's free, you can always unsubscribe later. Now let's get started with the first boss.
Let's start with the Revenant Horror. What you want to do is you want to run around in the Crypt Ghoul area, and you want to use your Frozen Scythe on the Crypt Ghouls. It helps to have a Rabbit Potion, or a Speed Potion, and a Jump Potion on, or a God Potion works as well. That just helps you be faster at running around, and it allows you to jump backwards so you don't get hit by the boss as much. Once the boss is ready to spawn, you want to not use your Voodoo Doll for this one because it actually does not work on Revenant creatures. So you want to use your Frozen Scythe as much as possible. You want to back up and jump away. And you need to let it hit you once or twice because otherwise it will start regenerating. If it's a tier 1 or 2, you don't need to worry about it. Tier 3 should be fine. If it's a tier 4 though, you just gotta let it hit you. Make sure you stay away from it when it becomes enraged, but in general, you shouldn't have to let it hit you too much. A good thing to know here is that the aspect at the end is really nice for getting away if it starts to corner you. Next up is the Tarantula Broodfather. To do this, I really recommend having a travel scroll to the top of the nest if you're an MVP plus or higher, because it's so helpful to teleport back up there whenever you want to kill spiders. It's not necessary, but it is very helpful. So what you want to do is you want to run around killing spiders with the Frozen Scythe. And with this, there's a couple spots that I'll show you here that I really like. One of them is right down here. Not too many people think to grind in this specific spot, and the best thing about it is that there's so many spiders that spawn here. You can also come over to this edge and shoot your Frozen Scythe down at all the spiders down below. So I really recommend this spot right here. As you can see, if I go up to the top, getting down to the spot is super easy. You just drop down here, and you can kill the spiders. The next location you can do to farm spiders is right at the top of the den. The upside to this is that you have a chance to get brood mothers. I got one when I first teleported in, and you can also jump down here, attack these spiders, go into the den, and then teleport back up to kill the ones at top. The downside to this spot is that a lot of people use it, so you might have a lot of traffic. Also, since there's a warp scroll to there, it may be kind of hard for you to find a lobby that doesn't have people constantly coming in and out and stealing all your spiders. And the final spot for grinding spiders that I have recommended is just this middle area right here. You can especially stand on this little platform and fire at all the spiders. So you could really be anywhere in this sort of medium level of the spider's den. But the downside to this is there's of course a ton of people running around here. Even those who don't have grappling hooks and aspect at the end can get here without much issues, so just keep that in mind. This may be not the easiest one to grind because people will steal your spiders. Once the boss spawns with this one, you want to use the cobwebs, jump potion, and your voodoo doll to your advantage. You do not want to run away from the boss because it will catch up to you no matter what you do. But a good tip of mine is to jump up and get yourself stuck in cobwebs while you fire your Frozen Scythe and Voodoo Doll down on it. That is super effective, and it can't get you when you're there unless it goes up and down. You want to use your Voodoo Doll as much as possible because this is the mob that it works on the most, and it does so much damage. Compared to just using the Frozen Scythe, the Voodoo Doll alone could probably take out this mob at a tier 3. And if you want to use your Voodoo Doll, wait a few seconds while firing your Frozen Scythe, switch back to your Voodoo Doll, and use it again. For a tier 3, this can take it out in under 20 seconds. I've done some in under 10 before, and for a tier 4, you can easily get this done in under a minute. And finally, let's talk about Sven Packmaster. This one is the hardest of them all because you will actually need to not use the Frozen Scythe on the boss. The Frozen Scythe and the Aspect of the Dragons and many other magical items actually do not work on it. The one thing that does, however, is the Voodoo Doll. So I'd recommend switching to armor set like Mastiff if you have it, or if you want something like Strong Dragon Armor, just whatever you would usually do the boss in right before it's about to spawn. To spawn the boss, I would recommend just running around with your Wise Dragon Armor. And for this one, if you have a sheep and a wolf, I would switch to your wolf pet because it's not going to be too much helpful to have a sheep, which increases mana. You're not using mana that much. But during the boss fight, I would recommend just coming on down over to here, this pond in the Howling Cave, and spawning the boss with your sword by killing a couple of these mobs. Then I'd use the Voodoo Doll as much as possible and hit the boss with your sword. And you should be able to kill it pretty quickly like that, at least for a tier 3. Or if you're doing a tier 4, you definitely need Mastiff. Alright, that is going to do it for today's tutorial. Thanks for watching, and if you did enjoy it, make sure to subscribe and leave a like. And if you have an idea of how I could do any of these Slayers faster or better, let me know in the comments down below. I would like to mention that the Ink Wand for the Slayers is also really effective. You can do tons of damage instantly, but other than that, that is all I have for you today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.